Welcome to another VeVe Digital Collectibles comic breakdown video. I'm Corey with VeVe, and today's comic from Marvel sent vast ripples through the Marvel comic universe. The birth of the twins, Tommy and Billy Maximoff. Beyond their own individual story arcs and relevance in comics, their birth set into motion some of the most universe-shattering moments in Marvel comic history. We'll dig into that, but first, the drop details. Vision and Scarlet Witch number 12 is scheduled to release on Thursday, April 6th at 8 a.m. Pacific Time, minting 5,000 editions across the 5 rarities. This comic will have a retail price of 6.99 gems. Published on September 1st of 1986, with a story by Steve Englehart and art by Richard Howe, this comic would see Vision and the Scarlet Witch becoming the proud parents of twin boys in a pretty supernatural birth. This comic and story, which was the final comic of a 12-issue series, would have a huge impact on comics and stories for decades. Before we dive into the impact this story had and that history, let's answer an important question. How does a synthesoid man and a mutant sorceress even have a baby? We discovered in the very first comic in this series that Vision, as an artificial man, has the ability to reproduce all human functions. And later in the series, after they would leave the Avengers, Vision and Scarlet Witch would settle down and decide to have a family. The two of them would go on a series of adventures in this series, and it would all culminate with this comic that we're looking at today, where they would have not just one, but 2 babies, twins. And for just a little while, the Scarlet Witch would have her greatest desire: a happy family. Comic readers would learn just a few years later that this birth was an unnatural one. The troubling truth would be revealed in West Coast Avengers number 52. Readers would realize that Wanda's powers made her unable to have children, so unknowingly she had absorbed pieces of the demon Mephisto's fragmented soul. He ultimately absorbed them back into himself, restoring himself and the order of things. And Wanda would have her memory of the children erased by Agatha Harkness. That spell wouldn't hold. Wanda would begin to remember aspects of her lost children. And in about 3 decades later, Brian Michael Bendis would write House of M, and the birth and the twins, that whole story concept, would be re-explored. Wanda Maximoff would create a new reality at the behest of her brother Quicksilver, and in this reality her children would be reborn and everyone would be happy. We'd see the same birth scene replay that we saw in Wanda and Scarlet Witch number 12, today's comic. Unfortunately, in House of M, Wolverine would begin to remember aspects of the reality he came from. This would lead to absolute chaos, as all the characters in this false reality would realize that their existence is unnatural. And that story in House of M would culminate in a Marvel Universe shattering event. As mutants and heroes demanded the death of Wanda in this reality so they could escape it, she would utter 3 words: no more mutants. Her utterance of those 3 words would be called the decimation, and the global population of mutants would be reduced from millions down to less than 100, and new mutants wouldn't be born for quite some time. This event would have major implications for all mutant and X-Men related comics following this, and we still see elements of that storyline being explored in comics today. Beyond the pages, we've seen the birth of the twins. Tommy and Billy play central roles in the Marvel Studios television series WandaVision and the movie Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, both of which are available to stream on Disney+. With all that being said, I hope you can see why Vision and Scarlet Witch number 12 is such an essential piece of comic history. Not only did it introduce 2 new characters, it introduced a story concept that's still influencing comics and stories and Marvel canon to this very day. Adding to that rich history, we have our VeVe-Exclusive rare and ultra rare covers. These are coming from Mike Vosburg and Rachelle Rosenberg. This will be the first ever exclusive cover on the platform for the legendary Mike Vosburg. He's been inking comics and covers since the 60s. Let's dig into all the rarities and the editions being released. And keep in mind, only 5,000 are being released across the 5 rarities. First, the common classic cover is minting 3,000 editions. We're seeing the villains coming to crash the birth at the bottom, and at the top, the 2 people who are basically family. Magneto on the left, believed to be the father of Wanda at this point, and to the right, we see Wonder Man. Vision's mind in the comics was modeled after the brainwaves of Wonder Man. So the 2 almost almost consider each other brothers and family. Next, the uncommon vintage variant is minting 1,125 editions. Vision and Wanda get the color selection both in the center and in the placard in the top left. The centering of the two characters, the circular framing, and the pop of color makes this another awesome comic to add to any uncommon collection. Our first VeVe-Exclusive is the rare hero variant, and it is minting 500 editions. We see Mike Vosburg's classic signature, Vos, down on the toy chest of the twins' nursery, as Vision and Wanda take in their new family. It's such a treat to get to see Vosburg's sketch style, line work, and shading on this variant. His style really sings true and gives us a refreshing modern take that still has that era feel. And it also sets a beautiful stage for Rachelle Rosenberg to come in with colors. Speaking of, the ultra rare vibranium variant is minting 250 editions. Rosenberg proves herself again and again with her use of colors, and this variant is another strong example of her work. The contrast of light and dark and the selection of the color palette itself meshes perfectly with the inks and line work Vosburg has established. Love this variant and these artists, and am hoping to add this and that rare to my collection. Finally, the secret rare True Believer variant is minting a paltry 125 editions. This interior panel is being sourced from this page and this panel. This is the panel when they realized they didn't have just one baby boy, but twins. Vision beams like the proud synthezoid father that he is. The twins, Tommy and Billy, would go on to become Wiccan and Speed. That's right, despite being reabsorbed into Mephisto, as you learned in this breakdown video, they would eventually escape thanks to their mother's love, which we can see on Wanda's face right on this cover. And that's a wrap for this breakdown video. Best of luck if you decide to go for this one. I love historic comics, and this is one that you can pull off a shelf or show someone in AR, and you can really just spend an hour talking about the influence this story has had on comics moving forward. With all that being said, keep learning, sharing, and collecting what you love. This is Corey with VeVe, signing off.